Hello, welcome to Life Talk for Tuesday, November the 13th, 2018. I'm Mark Crutcher, and I'm joined by the usual suspects. My daughter Sheila. Hello, Sheila.
Hi.
Hello.
And the prodigal daughter has returned.
Renee is back.
I am back, yes.
You're back.
Thank you for everybody that prayed for my husband. He definitely needed it, and he's doing well.
He's doing well, and hopefully this will be the cure to a long-term problem that he's had, and we are all praying for that.
We pray that is true.
Absolutely. And God is going to take care of him. Anyway, like I said, our prodigal daughter returned after a couple of weeks of riotous living.
Where do you come up with all these names and
Right.
stuff?
Well, that's out of the Bible. The prodigal
I
son,
know,
in this case, the prodigal daughter, after
I don't did I
lurking in the
stray?
shadows.
lurking in the shadows. Yep, that's right. Well, there's not a lot of things trending, but we do want to get to those. First off, I want to do a little short analysis of the elections. It was obviously a mixed bag, but I think that from the pro-life standpoint, we came out about as well as we could come out because Trump not only maintained control of the Senate, he increased his vote count there.
Yes.
So even if we have a couple of people drift off the reservation and vote against some, like a Supreme Court or a federal bench nominee, we have a little bit of slack that we didn't have before.
Right.
And that is the crucial issue. Beyond everything else, they're saying now that because there's been this absence of federal bench, people on the federal bench, a lot of places not fulfilled,
Right.
jobs not fulfilled, that before Trump's first term is over, he might actually have an opportunity to appoint 60% of all the federal judges in America.
Right.
That would be a good thing.
That'd be really good.
Definitely.
He has definitely been busy during his presidency.
And he's already appointed 2 Supreme Court justices.
And he may have to do it here pretty soon too, because Ruth Bader
Ginsburg
thank you.
is about 1,000 years old.
She fell and she broke some ribs and
This morning, she was released from the hospital. She's at home. She's not with the other justices right now, but they say she is working from home. So we'll see.
Well, she can't live forever.
No.
right.
And, she's already said that had Hillary Clinton been elected, she would have retired.
That's right.
So, again, I go back to all these never-Trumpers and these people that hate Donald Trump, and he's not my favorite guy in the world. He's not any of our ideal guy, although I'm getting more attached to him as time goes by. But all you got to ask yourself is, okay, you don't like Trump, would you rather have Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, exactly.
She would have appointed not 2 Supreme Court justices, but
Right.
3.
Definitely 3.
We would have had Ginsburgs all across.
Right, across the board.
Yeah.
And
would have been awful.
she and Obama would have appointed, by this point, the majority of
Right.
all the justices on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is a frightening prospect.
Very much so.
So,
And also, what is interesting about this elections is there are certain seats like governors and
Right.
other seats that were flipped, not only from Democrat to Republican, but Republican to Democrat, and so it was a mixed bag.
Right. yeah, but one of the things that the national media is making a big deal out of is this Beto O'Rourke situation. A couple of weeks ago, he was a shoe-in to win, right? And so, but then he didn't win. And now they're saying he's going to be the next president or whatever. He's going to be one of the Democratic front runners to be president. And because he did so well in Texas and came within a couple of 3 percentage points of beating O'Rourke in a very red state. What they're leaving out of this equation is that there was between 75 and 80 million dollars. Think about that for a minute.
Right.
Spent on this race
That was
by
important.
O'Rourke.
Yes.
And the vast majority of that money came from outside the state of Texas.
That's right.
It did, from celebrities, from
Hollywood, from California. Money poured in here, into this state,
Right.
from all these people outside the
To
state.
try to get him elected and it didn't work.
If you can't put $70 million into a race and win it you couldn't win it.
I mean, that's like the Hillary and Trump campaign. I mean,
Right.
they poured money into Hillary, and look,
She
Trump
spent more than twice as
prevailed.
much money as Trump did.
Yeah.
And if you can't win a Senate seat, how are you going to win the presidency?
Well, I can see where that would happen because he'll be going into an environment where there's more liberals and more Democrats than there are in Texas.
Yeah.
But the fact is, the bottom line is, they thought they had a guy that could win. Cruz is not the most popular guy in the world.
No.
They bring $70 million, between $70 and $80 million into the state of Texas, and they still lose. I don't see that as a big referendum on Beto O'Rourke.
No, I think that says a lot. And plus, you have the walk away movement now, so that says a lot for that party.
Yep.
in
I don't think
general.
he's finished with this, though. I think the
Yeah.
2020 and presidential
no.
election's way too soon, but I think maybe in the future there might be something there.
I think he's going to be like a cockroach. You know,
Keeps
you try
coming
to,
back.
yeah. But for all the people who call themselves pro-life, how can you vote for this guy?
Well, we've gone.
I
we
know,
beat that
I
issue
know,
to
but
death.
it's just think.
Anyway, you
how
got a
you
story
vote.
there, Renee, you want to do.
I do, yeah. We have a story that came out just at the end of last week from BBC News. It's a remarkable decline in fertility rates. And there are so many reasons that this is going on. And they named a few in here. Fewer deaths in childhood, meaning women have fewer babies, greater access to contraception, and more women in education and work. And let's not forget that the millennials and the Gen Zs, they are staying home longer. Well, the Gen Zs, obviously, they're still pretty young, but the millennials are back at home. They're playing games. They don't want to get married. They don't want to get out there and
Have babies.
So that's another thing. But it's interesting, though, that in the 1950s, that the fertility rate was even. It was, I mean, it wasn't declining. People were having 4.7 babies, and now today people are having 2.4
Worldwide.
worldwide. And if it drops to 2.1, we're in trouble here.
We're already seeing the economic effects of this. And you have countries now all over the world that are paying women to have babies. France is paying, Russia's
Right.
paying women to have babies.
Right.
Because they're seeing that when you have a decline in the number of babies, your financial future goes up in flames. And we're starting to see that here in the United States. And it's affecting the immigration battle.
Yes.
Because I still say the Congress can stop the immigration issue anytime they want to, but they choose not to because they need those laborers. We're at below replacement population. We have lost population in the United States. If you take out immigration, over the last 50 years, we have lost population. And
But they're keeping immigration in there, though, and they're saying the United States is not at a risk because of the immigration and the migrants coming over.
right. That's exactly the point.
That's right.
That's why they're not going to stop it.
I mean, there are cities in the United States. This is coming more and more common where people are moving out and then their population is declining. And so there are cities in the United States that are saying, hey, we'll pay you this amount of money or we'll pay off all of your student loans if you stay this amount of years
In the
and
city.
have children.
Right.
There are cities that are literally doing that in the United States, and it's becoming a more common thing.
Well, you know, if I were to say, let's pick out a city anywhere in the United States, and you don't know anything about their economy, let's say, and I say, let's look at the health of the economy in that region. How is that region doing? One of the first things you look at is, are they losing population? Are they gaining population? If they're losing population, that's a barometer that something's major wrong
Right.
with their economic situation.
Right.
And that's one thing we need to be looking at here. And for example, one of the problems that we face, of course, a major problem we face in the United States is Social Security and Medicaid. We have killed off the generations of people
Yes.
that should be paying for all
Right.
the people that are starting to
That's
retire.
right.
And also not only money-wise, but, physically they need help.
Taken care of,
And
yeah.
so they're not getting the help. And what's interesting is that BBC report, they mentioned contraception, but they didn't mention anything about abortion.
Right.
I mean, it all ties back to abortion,
That's right.
whether they like to admit it or not.
When you talk about these younger people are not there to help their older parents. Now that I am old, worn out, half dead, has been, 1 foot in the grave and the other one on a banana peel. Right. Are you saying, oh, I'm here, I'm going to take care of you?
I will, but
Oh, yeah,
you are
right.
not half dead. You are not 1 foot in the grave. The 50 is, the 30 and,
yeah, right.
The new,
Yeah.
the 30s are the new 40s, and the 40s are the new 50s. Yeah, but you know what? Though one thing that did stick out to me in this article is that there's going to be more grandparents than grandchildren, and that to me is sad.
That is sad. And, if, again, we've told people this before, but we should remind them of it. Every person that's listening to this needs to go get a copy of the population bomb and what's the other one? Anyway, they're talking about the population bomb is the main
Right.
one. And what's happening demographically.
Right.
Demographic winter is the other one.
Yes.
Watch Demographic Winter and the
Right.
Population Bomb.
Right.
And, or the demographic bomb. We are losing populations. You have places now in Europe where whole cities have become ghost towns because they didn't replace their population.
Right.
Right.
And
And they're saying that the word grandparent is no longer applicable because there are no grandparents.
well, and environmentalists and, people that put the earth above
Right.
people, they like to say, oh, our population is getting out of control. We need to stem this. We need to stop this. But if you look at what they're promoting abortion and not
Right.
having babies.
Yeah.
And so they obviously have a different agenda.
Right.
So we shouldn't listen to them.
Global warming.
Real quick, Sheila, you had something you wanted to bring up about the media.
So the media likes, to show the truth. They show,
Right.
yeah, not always, but
That's a Pollyanna view.
they like to say that they show the truth.
Yeah.
But for instance, in this latest mass shooting in California at that country nightclub, the media released video taken by a person who was in there of the shooting. It showed the shooter shooting into the nightclub, and people were okay with that. And then also another example is videos of people driving through these California wildfires. It's graphic video where you see people driving through them. You see bodies in the cars, charred to death, trying to escape. People are okay with showing those images and those videos, but they're not willing to show the truth about abortion.
Right.
And they are just as graphic as the aborted baby.
Right. Yeah, when you see charred bodies alongside the road,
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty graphic.
Right.
But what you have to understand about this is, and this is something we've talked about millions of times over the years, the American media is a collection of very accomplished, very strategic liars. They know how to lie. They can tell two truths that they know will lead to a lie.
They're great at spinning things.
And I give the example. You say, well, how can you tell two truths that create a lie? Let's say we had somebody working here. Let's say we'll name him Tom. And one day you guys come to work and Tom's not here. And I put out a memo that says, look, first off, Life Dynamics cannot have people working here who steal from the company, right?
Yeah.
Tom is no longer working here.
Yeah.
All right. Now, those are two true statements.
It would make it seem like Tom stole something.
Yeah, and if I said to you, why did Tom get fired? Your only conclusion would be, well, he was stealing. He was stealing money, so Mark fired him.
Right.
That's not true. That's not what happened. But you got two truths there that you said. The company cannot cannot allow people to be here that are stealing from the company, and Tom's been fired. Those are two true statements, but they create a lie. This is the game that the American media plays on a daily basis. On a daily basis, they play this game. And what you're talking about there is a good example of it. But one thing I want to bring up before we move on to RoeBots is we talked the other day about this situation where we have in Dallas where this woman who claims to be pro-life and runs this pro-life liberal feminist organization came out with an article in the Dallas Morning News saying she voted for Beto O'Rourke, which was a disgrace. And she did it even before she voted. She said, this is why I'm going to vote for him.
No pro-life person
No pro-life-
can vote for him.
No pro-life person did vote for him. If you voted for him, like we said on our show when we were talking about this, if you vote pro-choice, you are pro-choice. If you vote for abortion, for somebody who supports abortion, then you support abortion by default. This is not like any other issue, so to speak. No. But the interesting thing here is that since the election, they have given this woman, and she gets a lot of columns in the Dallas Morning News. Mm-hmm. They've given her another full column in the Dallas Morning News. Mm-hmm. And what's clear is that the Dallas Morning News is taking this woman who is not pro-life. I don't care what she says or anybody else says about her. She is not pro-life. Mm-hmm. But they're setting her up as the voice of the pro-life movement in North Texas. This is a brilliant, albeit despicable strategy on the part of the Dallas Morning News.
Well, everybody knows or should know that they are rabidly pro-abortion.
Oh, well,
they are so biased. They endorsed Beto,
right?
And so, they're using her.
And they have for some time. This is not new.
No.
They've been using this same woman for a long time, manipulated her, and I don't know if she's willingly being manipulated. I mean, we all know her very well. I don't know if she's willingly being manipulated or if she's too stupid to realize she's being manipulated. I don't know. But the Dallas Morning News...
she doesn't care.
Or she doesn't care.
She's just...
She doesn't care.
Right.
15 minutes of fame.
She got her 15 minutes of fame every couple of weeks in the Dallas Morning News. And she doesn't care. I don't know what the situation is. But the fact is, the Dallas Morning News... I don't know if she knows what she's doing, but I guarantee you the Dallas Morning News knows what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're setting this woman up as kind of the straw man pro-lifer. Mm-hmm. And she, if you read these articles that she writes, she is 100 times more likely to attack fellow pro-lifers than she is the pro-aborts.
See, this is one reason why pro-lifers are seen as loony, because people like this get the airtime from the biased media.
Well, believe me, the Dallas Morning News knows exactly what they're doing.
Exactly.
They're riding her like a cheap carnival ride. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't know if she just doesn't know it. Mm-hmm. She's not smart enough to know it. She doesn't care. I don't know what the reason is, but that's what they're doing.
And we need to make it very, very clear that she is not the voice of the pro-life movement. She does not believe what true pro-lifers believe.
Right. And she's not pro-life. That's the bottom line. But the Dallas Morning News wants you to think that this is the pro-life movement right here. And so they keep pumping her up, and it's a disgrace.
And I want to say one important thing that you wrote in your article that a lot of people liked was that the pro-life movement is not about building careers.
Right.
It's about saving babies.
Right.
And what she is trying to do is build a career.
Well, she even said in that article, I may have hurt my career.
Yeah. And now she keeps on trying to rebuke or, save.
Mark Sello says there is no journalistic integrity in major media anymore.
It died.
It's true.
It died centuries ago.
Yeah.
I studied journalism, and I can agree. It's about getting a story out there, getting the advertising dollars.
It has nothing to do. Journalism died years ago. I wrote that in an article in a book that I wrote back in 1986. That journalism is dead in America. It does not exist. But anyway. We're going to take a moment out here for RoeBots, and when we come back, I think we've got something really important to tell people. We'll be right back.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe versus Wade, and those who defend it are known as RoeBots. This is how they think.
You people have no right to deny women access to health care.
Over the years, we've seen that abortion apologists are really good at manipulating and distorting language, and their attempts to sell abortion as health care is a perfect example of it. In the first place, the term health care relates to the treatment of illness, injury, or disease, and the biological reality is pregnancy is not an illness, it's not an injury, and it's not a disease. Second, no procedure can be legitimately classified as health care if its only goal is to produce a corpse. It would be like saying that if a doctor administers the lethal drugs used to execute a condemned prisoner, he is providing health care. Third, When these people call abortion health care, what they are saying is that women are healthier after having abortions than they were before. And that is pure nonsense. The fact is, there is not one medical disorder for which the cure is abortion. And finally, just because something is done in a medical facility, that does not automatically make it health care. After all, cosmetic surgery is usually done in clinics or hospitals. But it would be laughable to say that facelifts, tummy tucks, nose jobs, and breast augmentation are health care. The same thing is true about abortion. In almost every case, they are done for non-medical reasons on healthy babies being carried by healthy women whose pregnancies pose no risk to either their lives or their health. By definition, that means abortions are not health care. The reality is, abortions are contract killings, and that doesn't change just because the killers wear surgical scrubs and work out of a clinic or hospital. Very often, you hear people say, I hate abortion, I'd like to do something, but what can I do just as an individual? I don't have a national organization, and I don't, so I'm not working in it every day. I have a job and family to take care of. The reality is there's a lot of things people can do. And
that they need to do. It's
and
one
need to be
thing
doing.
to, say I'm praying for it, but
Right.
it's another thing to actually take action yourself.
Right, exactly. And we make products specifically for that purpose. And we want to talk about a couple of those right now. First off, we need to be out here in the media, in the newspapers, in the letters to the editor column. I don't know if y'all knew this or not, but studies have shown that the most read page in a newspaper is the op-ed page. That is the page that sometimes people will open up a newspaper and go to the op-ed page. That's the only thing they read.
And not only, not opening up a newspaper, because people, newspapers, physical newspapers are dying, but newspapers now have Facebook pages and
Right.
social media accounts. And so people still read those, they just read them online.
Right. We need to be in those letters to the editor columns or those op-ed pages. Now, one of the things that I've and we produce this book called Answers, and this is the answers probably that I think there's 100 questions, and I'm in the process of rewriting this. We'll be coming out with another version here sometime in the future when during all my spare time I get to finish this up.
Well, several years ago, you had written the letters to the editor book,
Right.
and you gave those out, sold them,
Right.
and we still get phone calls quite often
Right.
of people needing it and wanting it.
They know they'll see an article or something, or they'll hear a pro-abortion argument, and they say, I know something's wrong with that argument. I just can't put my finger on what it is.
Right.
That's where they can get.
That's right.
They can get that from here, and then they can take this and write a letter to the editor with it.
Yeah.
But I hear people complain about the fact that you might have a 2,000-word article in a newspaper, and then you try to respond to it, and they'll give you 200 words and a letter to the editor. And they say, how can you respond to 2,000 words worth of lies and distortions with a 200-word article?
Right.
It's a very simple process to solve. Very simple. What you do is, in your community, and I want to encourage everybody out there to do this, get together with fellow pro-lifers and create a letters to the editor team. Then you break down every letter that you see or every article that you see that's written by a pro-abort, and it's got all these lies and distortions in it. You break it down to its individual lies and distortions. Then you give each member of your team one of those lies and distortions to respond to. You go into the book, you identify the lie and distortion, you respond to it, and you write a 200-word response to that issue alone. And then somebody else writes another one, somebody else writes another one, and you might get 4 or 5 letters to the editor published
Right.
that are 200 words long that they would never publish a 2,000-word.
Right.
So you can put together a team of people and just keep flooding the newspapers with these things, and you can respond to them. You won't get all your letters published.
No.
But if you write them well, and if you use this, and the logic in here is unassailable, unassailable. If you use that logic to respond to these arguments, and if you don't need 200 words, don't use it, because they are more likely, the shorter your letter is, even below the 200 word minimum that they might give you, the more likely they are to print it.
And people might be thinking, oh, there's not that many, letters to the editor or columns and stuff about abortion. But that's not true.
If you watch.
Yeah, there is a lot out there.
Well, first
about
off, you
abortion.
don't have to wait to respond to somebody else's. Just put it in there. Just
Yeah.
make it, say, the pro-aborts often say X, whatever X is, and then use this to respond to that X.
And plus, it doesn't even have to be like necessarily a newspaper article. People can do that with blog posts. They
Anything.
can do that with social media posts.
Right. Anything.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure we keep the pressure on. And we have to circumvent the bias of the media, and this is one way you can do it.
Exactly.
Another product that we make that has been very successful over the years, I think the last time we checked, these are the action cards that we produce. The last time we checked the numbers on this, we had put out well over 500,000 of them, over 500,000 of these.
And we have about 47, I believe,
Right.
cards that have all different sayings.
And what these are basically business cards. And they have various sayings on them and stuff. And some of them are pretty aggressive, some of them are kind of wimpy. But we put these out for people to carry with them, and you can leave them at restaurants, you can stick them on bulletin boards, you can, we had a guy that went into a mall one time and went into every clothing store and put one of these in the pockets of all the clothes. Now, the mall manager got mad and called us. We don't even know who did it.
Yeah. So.
And we had another one, apparently there was a team of people in one part of the United States, because it happened at several malls, where they went into the bookstores, B. Dalton's and Walden Books, and was sticking these in the books.
Movie theaters, leave them in the cup holders in movie theaters. I've done that.
There's millions of places
We
to
get
do
angry calls quite often about these cards, actually.
The reason the parole boards get so angry about these is they cannot stop them.
They're
No.
truthful.
They cannot stop them. This one, life begins at conception and ends at Planned Parenthood.
That's what I grabbed.
Oh, that's one, okay.
We
We're
have
on the same page.
there are action cards for all different kinds of occasions and personalities. I personally like the more aggressive in your face ones.
Oh,
like
really?
for instance, abortion doesn't keep you from being a mom. It just means you're the mother of a dead baby instead of a live one.
Right.
So I tend to like the more in your face ones, but there are softer ones for people who
We've got all kinds. The most dangerous, here's one, the little skull and crossbones on it. The most dangerous place on earth. As you read this card, more people are being killed in the womb than on every battlefield in the world. And see, people don't think about things like that. And so what you have to understand is, if you look at business people, businessmen and businesswomen, they may advertise on television, they may not. They may advertise in newspapers, they may not. They may advertise online, they may not. Every business has business cards.
it's
Because people recognize that this is the cheapest and most effective form of advertising there is. It can't be stopped, it can't be censored.
and it's about keeping this issue in front of people.
Right,
And anybody can do this.
right.
And Rhonda, here on social media, she says that she's placed these cards and credit card readers at gas stations, which is pretty cool.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we have people all the time that say they put them in every piece of outgoing mail that they send out, whether from their business or from their home. And we know they do that because we get mail from them that has one of our cards in it.
Exactly. They're
kinda
sending
weird.
it back to us.
When you're at the grocery store, when you pick up an item, put it on top of the next item.
When you leave a tip at a restaurant, just put this with it. You'd be amazed if you stop and use your head how many places you can find to put action cards. It is astonishing. And we make them available just like this. What are we charging for these? Are they $5?
I don't remember.
It's something
I
like
think
that.
it's $7.95.
Is it?
Yeah,
Something
it's-
like
yeah.
that. It's dirt cheap for what you get out of it. And the action cards, I think we're charging 3 cents a piece. Is that right?
I think it's $7.50 for 100, and then we have a full colored one, and it's $10 for 100. This is the only full colored one we have, which is
It's a graphic image.
it's a graphic image. Yeah.
But they're dirt cheap, and we pay the shipping on them.
Right.
So it's a dirt cheap way to show your pro-life
Efforts here.
effort. Yeah, pro-life sentiments. Anyway, you need to be using the action cards. They work. They're very effective. They cannot censor you, and they cannot stop you from using them. And if you just put your thinking cap on, you're going to find a million places to use these things that you can't even think about right now.
It's fun. I get a little giggle every time I figure out a new place.
Well, my wife, your mom, carries them with her in her purse everywhere she goes, and she leaves them strategic places or gives them to people or whatever. But it's also non-confrontational. You can leave it and walk away. You don't have to worry about the person confronting you.
We'll take the angry phone calls.
We take the angry phone calls. The last thing we want to do, because we're out of time, is to encourage people, because we have a lot of people that do this around the country, to put Life Talk onto your local cable access station. By federal law, if you have a cable system in your community, by federal law, they're required to make cable access available to you free of charge. You even get to use their editing equipment if you want to use it. Now, we're trying to keep the shows down below 30 minutes, which is normally what they'll give you. But a lot of these cable systems are looking for stuff to put on cable access. They can't even fill it up. And so they'll give you an hour maybe, or they'll run your show 3 or 4 times in the week that you put it up there. But we're trying to keep the shows under 30 minutes. We've run over on this particular show, but we're trying to do that, and we've done it on the last couple of shows we've done. We talked some time ago about how we're going to shorten the show.
Right.
But anyway, this is a great tool to go out there and put it on your local cable system. And all you have to do is call the office of the local cable system and ask them how you go about putting something on cable access, and they'll tell you what their system is.
Yeah,
what their
our people
requirement-
have been very successful in doing it.
Yeah, they have. A lot of our people put Live Talk on cable and have been doing it for many years.
Yeah.
And so all you have to do is, if you want to do that, we're going to start loading it up so people can take it down off the internet. But also, you can get it on our DVD every month, and we send those DVDs to you free if you want them. And you just take that down, and it's going to be better if you get it online, because it'll be high definition. DVDs are standard definition. It'll look better if you get it online. But anyway, it's a very good way for you to express your pro-life sentiments. And they can't censor you by law. They can't censor you as long as it's not pornographic or sexually
Or
explicit.
considered obscene.
Obscene, if it's not considered obscene, or if it's not advocating violence. Other than that, they can't edit your content. You have the Ku Klux Klan puts out videos around the country and gets them on cable access. So obviously they don't screen for content.
We have some members that don't mind calling us daily from the Ku Klux Klan.
Right. It's these idiots need to find some outlet.
Different hobby.
Right.
Yeah, those are the same type of people that call us angry about the action cards. So.
Right.
We'll take those calls.
That's all right. Y'all got anything else?
Nothing
Any
else.
other messages from the social media world?
No, we're good.
That's it. All right. Y'all don't have anything else? You do. Tell
If
people
you
to-
have
Right.
if you have show ideas or questions about show ideas that we've had, just give us a call or send us an email. We would love to hear from you. And I don't know, you can't see the mug, but it's been on the table. You'll get a mug for sending your question or comment in, and if we use the show.
Yeah, if we use it on the show.
She's
and
actually using it for real for coffee today.
we might even put you on the show. We do have guests by phone.
We do have guests by phone, yeah.
And,
we have Skype capabilities, but
Right.
but we do mainly phone.
There's a project that we've been telling people was coming. It is really rocking along.
January will be here.
It will be here in January, and it's going to rock and roll. And we'll be having a guest on Live Talk from that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good project.
This is going to be a really good project.
Yeah.
And then we've got another one that's still a year or so away, but it's rocking and rolling too. So
It's coming along.
it's coming along.
Be patient.
Yep. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this week. Until next Tuesday, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you next Tuesday.